Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen.
With me today is abundance teacher and money coach, Jody Lynn Craven.
This is your daily dose of happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today.
Jody Lynn, you're a country girl. I mean, you live on a farm in Alberta, Canada, right? You basically grew up in rural areas and so forth. I imagine you never really spent much time in the city. Am I right about that? Right. Yeah. So
correct. Yeah.
And I get that. I mean, because that's pretty much me too. I mean, I grew up in upstate New York, but you know, for me, something like New York City was something you did occasionally for a visit, and I could handle it for about 3 or 4 hours at a time, and then I was done because the vibration was just too high. Yeah, I just was never really a city guy. Well, our guest today was born and bred in New York City, and she left New York City for Santa Fe, New Mexico, and never went back.
That's true.
So I think she's kind of on the same wavelength, which is kind of interesting. She grew up there, but she decided that was not quite the ideal lifestyle for her. But there's also some more that goes into this because she's also the author of Shake Yourself Free. And we're going to learn more about that book in a moment. But first, we're going to learn about Melanie Smithson. So Melanie, thank you for joining us on the program today. And how are you doing?
I'm good. Happy out here in the Southwest.
We're glad to have you here. So you got to tell us the story. First of all, how you ended up in Santa Fe. But you're also, an interesting title. I had not heard that one in a while. You're a somatic psychotherapist. You got to tell us what that's about and how you ended up doing that.
Yeah. So somatic psychotherapy, I'll just give you a nutshell and then we'll go from there. Somatic psychotherapy is psychotherapy using reference to the body. So we hold emotions in the body. So my teacher some 35 years ago said that doing psychotherapy without the body is going to be considered unethical because too often therapy winds up talking around problems and not actually moving them. So with the somatic practice, we're actually looking for where is something held and how do we let it sequence so that it can complete. And also, how do we use the body as a resource to move through life? So I started as a dancer, and my moving to New Mexico, my transitioning from being an accountant before I was a therapist, all kind of happened in the same maybe 10-year period. But I grew up dancing, loved it. It was always the place that was my release, the place when I was going crazy, I got to get to dance class. And I didn't know about dance movement therapy. I didn't know about somatic psychotherapy. I just knew that if I was off balance, I needed to get to class.
Makes sense.
But who makes a profession out of that? I didn't know that. So I loved numbers. My dad was an accountant. I became an accountant. I was a CPA in New York City. And things changed. I started dancing more, and I found myself sitting at my desk going, I don't want to be here. I want to be dancing. I don't want to be here. I want to be dancing. And I actually wound up quitting my accounting job, took another one that lasted for 2 weeks, which was like, I don't want to be here either. And then I started managing a dance studio for $50 a week in New York City. Obviously, not sustainable.
Not really, no.
Not sustainable. And all the dance classes I could take. So I was happy, but had to, figure out what I was going to do. And in that time frame, I was, just trying different things. I actually started going to school for early education. It didn't stick. And visited Santa Fe on a whim. I had a guy I was dating, had friends in Texas. He was meeting them. He said, do you want to come? I said, sure. I didn't know anything about it. And I came to New Mexico and just really fell in love with the land and the space. Moved here, started doing some volunteer work with Concerned Citizens for Nuclear Safety and Nighthawk, a preservation organization at the time. It had been shortly after the Exxon spill, which was really devastating to me. And I'm just kind of, wandering around with my life, and I don't know what I'm doing bookkeeping on the side to pay the bills. And I went to a workshop, a dance movement workshop, and I learned about this whole field. And it was like, oh, oh, this is what I need to be doing. This is where my passion is. This is where my love is. And I never thought I was getting trained as a psychotherapist. I thought that I was going to get training where I could do big dance workshops, and having the psychotherapy background would be nice. And lo and behold, I wind up at Naropa, and I'm like, oh, I guess I'm going to be a therapist. So, I mean, it's bizarre as I even tell the story, but yet I feel like it was all so divinely guided. I feel like, it was like, just take this step, take this step, take this step, and here's your work.
That's wild on a couple of different levels. My ex-wife was a former psychotherapist. I've actually had a lot of therapists and psychologists and psychiatrists and so forth on the program. I know something about how people end up getting pulled into the field, how they get drawn to it. I don't think I've ever heard anybody come in through the back door like you.
Yeah.
I mean, because most people, they have some sort of, I don't know, some sort of trauma that happened with their childhood, or something that leads to, they want to try to answer some questions, and so they go into the field in order to try to solve their own family dynamics and so forth. None of that is going on here. I mean, this is like as atypical as I've ever heard of.
Yeah. And again, I mean, I never, as a child, think about what kind of work do you want to do, what's your life going to look like. Therapy was not, we didn't even know what therapy was until I was in my 20s. And
so it wasn't even on the table. It wasn't part of the background. It wasn't anywhere in there.
No. And and I've had a couple of other interesting stories like that. When I first started practicing, I put an ad in a small local paper and basically said I'm a somatic psychotherapist, and a massage therapist reached out to me and said, I really want to work with you, but you have to take my insurance. I was like, I've only been practicing for a year. I don't take insurance. And she said, well, if I can get my insurance company to take you, would you be my therapist? And I said, sure. She rallied her insurance company. Insurance companies don't take people unless they've been licensed for a couple of years.
Oh, sure.
But nobody else was doing the work I was doing in that area.
Oh.
She got me a network with them, and then they got taken over by Anthem. But she never came to see me. She built my practice. I don't know who she is.
Did you ever reach out to her after that?
I don't know who she was. I didn't have any of that information.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I just, I feel like angels have been sent to me my whole life. And it's like, this is your work. This is what we need you to be doing. And I just feel like, okay, that's what I'll do. And the good news is I love it. I love being a place where I get to witness transformation.
It really jumps out at me. There is nothing in this storyline that has even the slightest amount of resistance at all. There's no right. I mean, am I missing something? It's so clear. Like you just kind of move along. Oh, here's something happening. I'll just go there. Oh, this is happening. Okay, no resistance.
No, I really don't. Not to say that there's nothing in my life I don't resist, or I double negative.
Well,
there,
you're breathing, so I'm not surprised. Yeah.
Yeah, right. But this path, it was just like, this is what you're going to do. This is what you're going to do, and. I have a quote up here that I just love. I can't get his name. Rabindranath Tagore. I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and saw that life was service. I acted, and behold, service was joy.
Wow.
That's nice.
And that practice, and I think I know everybody feels this way. It's like when I ask people, what do you like the most about your work? It's like, well, I like helping people in whatever form that shows up. Whether you're a truck driver, whether you're a waitress, what it is, it's like I helped someone today. And that ability to really be of service is, I think, what lights us all up. So I feel really blessed that my path has been laid. It's like this is what there is to do next. This is what there's, and so many trainings I've done over the years. I actually got into a car accident. I'm going to talk about one of those stories that's just bizarre. I was driving to Albuquerque from Santa Fe with my husband, hit some, I guess it was black ice because we went into a spin, went into oncoming traffic, crashed the car, and both of us walked away without a scratch. But we had been going south and we got turned around, so we were going north, which is where I wound up going to school. And I actually, the following weekend, I went up to Naropa. I think it was that same week, following week. I went up just to check out the school, the program in somatic psychotherapy, dance movement therapy. And I sat in a class and I was like, this is awesome. They suggested I go talk to the enrollment, whatever that person's name is called, admissions office. And I sat down, we started talking. He said, well, you're here for the interviews, aren't you? I said, what are you talking about? It was one of the 2 weekends a year that they interview for the following year.
Oh, Jesus.
I went back to the hotel and I put the blanket over my head and I started to cry. So, it's just like so many things were just like, this is what you're meant to do. This is where you're meant to be. And I didn't feel like there was any way to argue or resist.
Yeah.
That last sentence there, I felt there was no way to argue over this. That kind of jumps out at me. Because among other things, what it tells me is that's kind of the source of your non-resistance.
Yeah.
You really have no reason that ever comes to you about why you'd want to argue about something. So you figure, well, okay, I guess this is where I'm going.
Right. And
how do you think you actually acquire? I mean, you just fell into that naturally. How do you think that happens? I mean, that's not the usual story, right?
No. Like my husband says, it's a mystery.
No kidding. Yeah. Well, that's why I'm asking these questions.
I really don't have the answers to this because this is not something I planned. And, I love that joke, how to make God laugh, tell her your plans. And, the more, and this is why I teach what I teach. I teach letting go. Because the more we let go, the more we get out of our own way, the more life and mystery can unfold and present, I mean, I do believe there's a universal energy. I believe there's a rhythm. I believe there's intelligence and kindness and goodness. And what happens is we get in the way of that. And so ultimately our work is, how do we get out of the way?
It sounds like you were always kind of like that. Like when you tell the story, you're like, I was doing accounting. And then I was like, yeah, I don't really like this. I'd rather dance. And then I just went and did this. Like, it's just so, matter of fact, I just went and I did it. And like, most people would be like, oh my God, I'm a CPA. And like, that's a great job. And I went to school and I, paid to go to school for that. And I can't leave this industry. This is what I trained for. And all of these things. But it kind of sounds like you're like, okay. You just went with it.
And it's interesting because I actually had a client come to me many years ago who was a dentist, and she hadn't been in the field that long, but she hated it. And she went through exactly what you're talking about. Like, my parents spent all this money. I'm trained in this. How do I leave it? And I said, well, you can't stay if you hate it. You just can't. I mean, it's like, that's not what we're here to do. We're not here to do what we hate doing. And I don't even, it's not like my parents ever told me this. I know when I told my mother I was going to go to Naropa for dance movement therapy, the first words out of her mouth were, can you make any money doing that?
There's a mom for you right there.
So I'm not really sure. It's like, I also do past life and life between life work. So I would say, apparently I learned a few things in a past lifetime about letting go.
How did you respond to that one? I'm really curious on that.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I didn't tell that to my mother.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay.
my mother believed that anybody who believed in past lives was crazy.
Okay.
So
you already had some idea of the answer. I got that. Okay.
Yeah. But I don't even know that I was thinking that at that time. it's what I'm thinking now, like
Right.
maybe I learned this before.
But that's just another example of non-resistance. I mean,
Yeah.
especially growing up, you grew up in Queens. The last thing I would expect for somebody living in Queens is, oh, we'll just go with this idea that there are past lives. I mean, that's just, it doesn't even fit.
Yeah,
How did you manage to do this?
Well, I did have some experiences that helped, with mind expansion in my 20s. And I wound up in a lot of groups of people channeling stuff. And it was like, oh, there's more to the world than what I was taught. There's more to the world than, one's foot in front of the other. There's like my best friend in college was an artist. So her mind was like way out there. And I got exposed to the right people at the right time that just changed the path of my life.
But you also had I'm not even sure how to describe it. You had a predisposition to be able and willing and even wanting to accept new things coming at you and just be okay with it, no matter
Apparently.
what they were. Yeah.
It seems that way.
Definitely a lesson in a past life, I think. I don't know. Mine's so good. It's just so easy.
Do you get the feeling like she came into this life, she got the manual that the rest of us didn't get, Jody Lynn?
Well, that part of it, at least, like that chapter, which I think is a really essential chapter, and a lot of people struggle with it. And I think our society is built the opposite of what you just said. We're not here to do what we hate doing. No. Like, you talk to almost anybody in society, a large portion of society believes you just got to grind it out, stick with it, do it long enough, work hard enough, cry long enough, and you'll be fine.
I have to tell you, in my first book, Stress Free in 30 Seconds, that was over 11 years ago, I wrote that book. One of the strategies is several strategies for how do we stay motivated, go through life, do these things, and one of the strategies is to quit, to actually give up. You're on the wrong path, let it go. And I started, I just Googled, I was looking for some quotes on quitting. And the only things I found were don't quit, never give up, keep going. And I actually think it's a travesty. I think we live in a society that says push, 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 go, 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 try harder. And if you keep going, you'll get there. And so many people are suffering because of these messages.
Oh, definitely.
And, whether it's past lifetime, whether it's because I've been dancing my whole life, because for me, dancing is that fluidity. How do I, move with everything? That's what I aspire to. And of course, there are some things I don't move that well with. But in general, it's like, okay, let's try this. That didn't work.
I love that. I mean, it's refreshing because this is not something that we encounter every day. I mean,
no.
Jody Lynn's been on the program for, what do we say, 4.5 years now?
Yeah.
You've been on the show. I've been doing it for 13 years now. I've done 2,100 plus episodes. This is not a typical interview.
I hate to be typical.
There's not a lot here that I could draw and say, yeah, I've talked about this one all the time. No, not really.
Yeah. No, not so much. Yeah.
It's refreshing. It's fun. It's nice. It's just very, very unusual. And I'm still kind of, I mean, I know you're kind of confused about too, how could it possibly have happened? I'm kind of confused. I mean, because especially growing up in a place like New York City, you're going to run into stuff. That's part of what it is to be in New York. We were talking earlier. New York is very high paced. It's very high energy, and that kind of environment means one thing after another is happening. Bang, 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 bang. And somehow you didn't get all caught up in that, even though that's what your environment was. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that.
Well, I was caught up in it until I was about 25, and then everything changed.
Well, it's not just the thing that changed. You did something to change. I mean, you know that as well as I do, right? You're a somatic psychotherapist. Your body was doing something.
My body said, this isn't working for me anymore. I want, so I mean, really, I left the accounting field because that pull to dance was so strong.
Well, I get that.
Yes.
I'm a dancer too, so I get the whole thing about dance.
What kind of dancing do you do?
Swing dancing is my favorite. Yeah, I like doing hustle. I like a few others too, but swing's definitely my favorite.
Yeah. So, for me, it was the more advanced classes were happening during the 9 to 5 hours. And I was like, well, I can't work 9 to 5 because I have to be in dance class at 1:30. Made perfect sense in my mind.
I get that, but it's amazing.
So, Melanie, you're a somatic psychotherapist now. So you must run into people who are struggling with that piece of letting go and flowing with life. So
Yes.
What do you tell them to do?
Yeah. So the most important thing I probably work with people on is getting them back into their bodies. So, as I mentioned earlier, we hold emotions in the body. So the way that we're going to shift what's happening is through the body. And the mind is really not our friend when it comes to letting go. The mind wants to figure things out. It wants to have an answer to everything. And that process in and of itself keeps us more caught. So the mind says, well, I don't know why you feel this way, and I don't know why this is happening. And that puts us in a loop. So the more I can get people coming back to the breath, to sensation, to, just softening and opening inside, this is where more wisdom becomes available. So in terms of connecting to all that is, to a higher sense of self, to God, whatever you call that energy that is outside of the body-mind, that doesn't happen through thinking. That happens through expansion. So how do I help people get to a more expanded state? And depending on what they're working with, what they're coming in with, one of the premises in psychotherapy for almost every psychotherapist is meet the client where they're at. Same in movement. So if somebody comes in to work with me and they're in a state of despair, the first place we would go is, what does despair look like? What does that feel like in the body? And it's usually going to be some kind of heaviness. And as we let ourselves lean into what's present and allow that and welcome that, that's when it can start to shift into something else. So for me, the work is always, how do we meet what's actually happening in this moment so that we can start to let it loosen and transform?
But I'm going to guess that there are going to be some, at least, possibly many clients who they'll lean into something like that and they find that they can't stop leaning into it. They don't get a transition. How do you help them transition?
Yeah, so breath, really, it's like, and it's again, one of those things, well, people will say, if I let myself be sad, if I let myself be scared, I'm never going to not feel that way. Mm-hmm. And that's a lie. I mean, the truth is that feelings move quickly when we allow them to move. So I talk about feelings like a wave on the ocean. And, these waves, there could be big waves, there could be little waves, but every wave is going to complete when it hits the sand. But our smart human mind says, oh no, I don't like that wave. And we go, stop. And then we wind up being stuck with the experience. So what the work is, whether it's, heaviness or, this wave of sadness or grief or anger, how do we notice and recognize it as a wave and be present with it so that it can fully sequence? So my work is to be there with the client. So if I find they're getting stuck in something, there's coaching. There's, okay, can you soften? What's the breath? How does that, shift? Or if it was going to look different, what would it look like? I do a lot of imagination work with that as well. When I do child work, we have, and, just one of the modalities I use works with child part stuck in the past. But a 5-year-old or a 7-year-old who was abused or not paid attention to or ignored or whatever it is, they can have feelings about that. Whether those feelings were allowed, expressed, or even recognized when they were 5 or 7, it doesn't matter. But I'll work with them, and we're working with a 5-year-old part, and they say, oh, I'm not angry about that. I'll just say, let's imagine maybe there was some anger hidden in your body. Where would it be? I've never had anybody not come up with an answer. So it's really a matter of giving permission to, just maybe. So a lot of, I think a lot of the way that I work that works is curiosity and wonder. And again, I'm so grateful for my training at Naropa, because what we learned in this, body-oriented work is the ability to, throw out a suggestion and you take it or you don't. You don't take it, we move on. I don't take it personally. It's not about me. This is not how we have to do it. Let's find what's going to work for you.
Well, that makes sense, especially if you're going to appeal to somebody to go into their body. Obviously, Jody Lynn, you're a coach, as well as I do, that's probably the last place most people are willing to be.
Yes.
On a regular basis. It's not a normal behavior. It's not a normal experience.
Right.
Right. And I think what you were saying, Walt, of like getting stuck, what I found with myself and like my clients is that for me, that stuck place was when I was experiencing the emotion through the mind. Yes. I wasn't even going into the body because I had stopped it. Like here, I can't feel this because I'm going to get stuck here. That was all from up here. It wasn't in here. And then when I finally allowed myself to feel the things inside of my body, it was very quickly moved through. It's crazy. I don't have any formal training in somatic or psychotherapy or anything like that. But the very beginning of my course that I teach is all
And what do you teach?
Abundance consciousness is the philosophy that I teach. So it's your conscious evolution of abundance. So bringing abundance into your life, more than just money, all of the things, love, joy, appreciation, all the things that you desire. But that's where I started, because that was the channeled message that I got, was you had to get into your body and experience it and move through those feelings instead of just staying in your head.
Yes. And, it's interesting you use the word stuck, because so many clients come to us and say, I'm stuck.
Sure.
So what I often will do is, and Sedona method is another practice of letting go that I use a lot. But I'll have my client let themselves feel as stuck as they do, and then just find some movement. What's not stuck? Oh, my hands aren't stuck. Oh, my head's not stuck. Okay, and then let yourself feel as stuck as you do, and then notice what's not stuck. And as we start opening to where there is movement, where there's opening, everything shifts. But, as you were just talking about with abundance, this is where I think a lot of people get in trouble with the law of attraction, is they try and think their way into it. And clients have come to me and said, well, how am I supposed to think about abundance when I don't have any? And it's like, no, you do. But where is it? Where's the abundance? I have an abundance of love. I have an abundance of sunshine at the moment. I have an abundance of play with my dog. And then what does that feeling of abundance feel like? Because that's where the attraction really happens, is when you start to resonate with that energy field. So,
Well, one of the things that we point out here on the show is that law of attraction is always in operation regardless of whether we're receptive to it. So if we're not in that kind of abundant mindset, then we start attracting all that stuff we really didn't want in the first place.
Right.
And it kind of is tied into what you were talking about earlier. I think you talked about how you need to kind of lean into the feeling and let yourself experience the feeling, because it doesn't last very long. I remember the first time that I kind of tested that. I said, okay, I'll try doing that kind of thing and just,
Yeah.
see what happens. And I'll do it with something that's really a mild thing by comparison to some of the traumatic things that can happen, because I'm pretty sure if I did a traumatic one, that would go on for like the next 25 years. And I'm not interested in doing that. So I'll try something really simple. And so I did it with something very simple. And I was astonished at how quickly the emotion dissipated. I thought it was I don't even remember what it was. I don't remember what the circumstances were, but it was something that was just an everyday bumps and bruises kind of occurrence. And I don't normally have major emotional reactions to stuff. This is something I had a fairly significant emotional reaction to. So it's kind of on that level.
Yeah.
And so I just sat and I started feeling into it, and it was gone in about 5 seconds.
Yes.
I said, that's not possible.
Yes.
No, this was something that happened when I was in my 50s. It took 50 years for me to even get to the point where I tried it for the first time.
Right.
And when I first tried it, it's like, what? Wait a minute, that can't be. So then over time, I would try it with, not that there were lots of traumatic things coming into my life, but I went through my period where things were pretty traumatic, and I did have experience with that as well. And even there, I mean, I had to actually try to make stuff stay in my body.
Yes.
If I really focus on something, I could get it to stay for like 5 minutes, maybe 6.
Right.
And it was exhausting.
Right. When I go for a good cry, when I authentically meet what's here, it doesn't last more than 2 minutes. If I'm sobbing for hours and hours, it's usually more out of self-pity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is sometimes fun.
But I'll tell you, I gotta have a day.
Yeah.
And it's not like we never have anything that's so traumatic that it can take longer. I mean, when my ex left me, I went through a really traumatic period, and there were like long gaps there that were a lot more than 5 or 6 minutes where I just felt the agony of it,
Right.
and then they would recur. It's not like I'd get through once I was done. They would recur. So I did go through that, but even there, as much as painful as it is to go through that release of pain through feeling it all the way through, it is kind of astonishing each time. It almost distracted my attention away from the fact that my marriage was falling apart to like, wow. I mean, that was really painful, but that really dissipated quickly. It was surprising.
Yes. And, grief can last. Grief can last for years. Well, it depends in different flavors, but grief comes in waves. And what there is to do is to match each wave. And so the wave itself doesn't last, but the feelings, will repeat themselves. And then, okay, well, I'm going to move through another wave. But, I had a story I wanted to share about this woman I was working with, 10 years ago. And it was actually at a retreat in Sedona. And she was sharing this upset that she'd been feeling for 2 years with an ex-boyfriend. And I asked her, well, what are you feeling in the body? And she said, it's just really tight in here. And I said, okay, can you just, give it a little breath? Could you soften and just be with it, And the next thing she says to me, are you kidding me? I said, what? She said, it's gone. Are you telling me it's gone? I said, I'm not telling you anything. What are you telling me? She said, it's gone. 2 years of anger gone like that as soon as she let herself breathe into it, which is, really why I am on such at this point in my career, as, I've been doing this for 30 years and towards the ender part of my life, I am just so committed to getting more people doing coaching and therapy, bringing the body in. And whether you're coaching, whether you're speaking, whether you're doing therapy, all of these things, it's like body awareness is like, there's so much wisdom here that we all have available to us that we don't pay attention to. And it's like, not just like, how do I move what's in here, but how do I move to bring something new in? How do I invite shift? And
let's talk about that for a minute, because that's actually a key piece. And we don't spend as much time on that as we could here on the show, to be perfectly honest.
Right.
So let's talk about that piece right there.
If you're working, with goals, and, one of the things that I like to do with people is, we typically think that there's only one way to get from here to there. It's like kind of what we touched on sooner, go, 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 It's like, well, let yourself just go ahead and walk across the room like you always do. And then maybe walk across the room with a sway, or maybe walk across the room backwards, maybe walk across the room crawling, maybe skip across the room. Just letting your body feel into new options for how to move with what's happening. The feeling of being stuck, it's like, let yourself be as stuck as you are. And then how can I get just a little, how can I unwind this? Oh, maybe this will open. And again, it's like where the body starts to go, where the body can find an opening, then the mind starts to go, oh, maybe I can do something different. So I worked with a client, it was a few months ago, and she said, I feel like I can't get my head on straight. And again, traditionally, people would help you, figure out, well, why isn't your head on straight? How are we going to get your head on straight? And I just let her move with, oh, my head's not on straight. Until it found something different.
By the way, most of our listeners are audio only. They aren't seeing the video, so I have to describe to them what you were doing there.
Sorry.
You were saying that, what if my head's not on straight? And then you're moving all over the place, as you're saying, which is about the last thing you'd expect from a therapist. But people have to know that's what you're doing here.
That's what I'm doing, because I move. That's somebody asked me something the other day. Oh, I know. Somebody just asked me, how do you bring movement into what you do? And I was like, how do I not bring movement into what I do? That's what I do.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense, because we were trying to kind of fathom earlier how it is that you ended up on the path that you were on and how you ended up not being resistant to any of it. Movement's going to have to be a big piece of that.
Yeah.
It's got to be kind of like built into your being in some way.
Yeah.
For you to just
I
kind
think
of
it is. I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll give you another way to move into something different. With relationships, especially, people start to feel like, we're stuck in this pattern. One fun thing to do is to let yourself feel the dance that you're already doing in that relationship. And often, if there's controversy, the initial dance is going to be something like, like a push-pull kind of thing, where the paso doble, and usually some ballroom. So, something a little more intense. So let yourself lean into the dance that you're already doing. What does that look like? What does that feel like? And then imagine, either in your mind's eye or actually do this, change the music. And now you're doing a waltz, or now you're doing the cha-cha. What happens to the dynamics of the relationship if you start playing with a different type of dance?
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, you were reminding me of it. I'm also a musician, and I recently picked up playing keyboard for the first time since I was a kid, and I'm loving it and completely enjoying it. And I've started doing something I didn't do many years ago. I started composing. I started writing songs and arranging and so forth. And I recently came up with a tune, and I wanted a title for it. I ended up calling it Merry-Go-Round, but I spelled it M-A-R-R-Y, the merry-go-round, because for me it was a musical expression of being on that merry-go-round that you can go on, where the relationship just seems to be kind of spinning out of control.
Yeah.
And even the tonality of it, it's like a carousel that has, the music that the carousel plays, that 6/8 time signature that just kind of makes you feel like you're going round and round and round in circles. That's what I was thinking about as you were describing that.
Yeah. And, even the merry-go-round, I would put that into some sort of movement intervention. It's like, okay, so the merry-go-round is going up and down and you're going fast, and, notice how it feels to be going up and down on the merry-go-round, keeps going. And what if you could make it go faster? What if you could make it go slower? What if you could reverse the direction that's going in? It's like, what if you could make the horse that you're on go left and right instead of just up and down? So using the imagination to support shifting how you move with anything.
You're reminding me how I compose this thing.
Right. I mean,
seriously, you are.
Seriously. When you're composing, you're in a release state.
Yeah.
You can't resist and compose. It doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking about it in ways that I'd never put it into words before. Like, for instance, you kept referring to the up and down part, because that is part of what happens on a carousel. And I was writing the music in a way so that I was going up the scale and down the scale and up the scale and down the scale. I was getting that kind of a flow going, not consciously, but that's what I was going to.
Right. We are influenced.
That is so funny. It's an interesting insight on how release actually works, because many of us we're in lives where we're so used to being locked in. We're so used to being stuck on things.
Yes.
So exploring the different ways that release can happen is a fun and new experience.
Yeah. And
it's what you do all the time. But
right. But, it's like we forget we have options, you know, and one of the things that in terms around resistance is every time you tell yourself you have to do something, there is an internal voice that says, no, I don't want to, go away. Maybe uses more colorful language. But we know this to be true when somebody else says you have to do something. It's immediately going to bring up resistance. The same thing happens internally. There's this voice in my head going, you have to do this, you have to do that. I'm like, shut up, leave me alone already, you know? So recognizing that I don't have to do anything is really important. And sure, there'll be consequences if I don't feed the dog, if I don't pay the rent, if I, there'll be consequences.
Oh, sure.
But I can recognize I want to do this because I don't want those consequences. Even that is so empowering and helps dissolve resistance.
Well, and what a mindset shift. I'm choosing to do it because I want to be responsible and pay my rent and have a home versus I have to. That's such a different frequency of feeling.
Right. And we do it everywhere. We do it with work. We do it with our relationships. It's like, I have to get up. I have to, it's like, no, you really don't. Don't do it. See what happens.
Yeah, right.
When you were describing that exercise of the dancing, like how you dance with your partner, I was also reflecting on, like, how do I move through life?
Yes.
What is that song? What is that dance? Like if I'm dancing by myself, like as I'm going, not through life, but like my work day or something, because I work alone, like what does that look like? That popped into my head. And oh, you could change the music, you could change the tempo, I don't know anything about music, but it could go faster or slower, or backwards or forwards or up or down, or we're not stuck. But it was just the visual of what does that dance look like of my work, of my daily life.
Yes.
A beautiful thing to reflect on.
Yeah. So it's interesting because my new book, Shake Yourself Free, is being released in January. And so I am just past, writing and editing and reading and rereading and rereading and rereading.
Oh, yeah.
So, but what was cool is as I'm rereading, I'm sitting at my desk and I'm doing all the practices in the book. So one of the practices is when you're feeling stuck, if you've got a swivel chair at your desk, is to just swivel back and forth. So I was doing this. I just let myself swivel. I let myself bounce. And it just made all of it easier. And it was kind of cool. It was like, oh, these are good practices. So that's always a good feeling.
Yeah.
You wrote the right stuff. That's nice to know.
I wrote the right stuff.
It does work.
It works. Yeah.
It's reassuring, especially when you're doing all that editing, because like you said, I mean, the basic rule that I found with writing and editing, I've written two and I've edited a third book, is you never really stop. You just decide that you're done.
Right.
Because otherwise you could be on the merry-go-round forever.
Oh my God. You could never be done. And I think one of my editors, if I'd let her have her way, we still wouldn't be done. No, we're done. Yeah,
after editing round number 26, okay, yes. I guess I'm kind of done. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know about you. You might have only read this for six times in the last 6 months, but I've been writing this book for 2 years and I am done.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. My first book took me about 9 months, and that was, I can't imagine going 2 years. 2 years, I would have been pulling my hair out.
Well, it's interesting that, this process of this book came to me while I was dancing. And it was great. I do conscious movement, specifically 5 rhythms every Sunday. And so I was in class and I was dancing, and all of a sudden, just like, I'm moving, and I feel like I get downloads when I'm dancing. And what came to me was my next book was 101 Ways to Let Go. And of course, the title's changed many times, but it was 6 or 9 months of just really receiving the information while I was dancing before I started writing. So, I was writing notes and stuff, but then I didn't start putting it into form until after I felt like I had all the material. So that part was fun. I loved that part. I would do that. I would do that all day, every day.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy dance a lot. I've never tried to use dance as a modality, though. That's a cool idea. I mean, I guess that was not something you actually planned. That you also fell into that one because that's your modality. Always just fall into it.
Fall into stuff. Yes. Yeah.
In fact, that could be the sequel to Shake Yourself Free. Just fall into it.
Just fall into it.
Yes.
But since the book is coming out in January, tell us more about the book. I mean, give us a little bit of a teaser on it.
Yeah, so the book is 81 Somatic Practices to Let Go of Limitation is the subtitle. And I've got the table of contents, so that'll help. So
81, you got to have the table written in front of you because remember them all.
It's a long table of contents. I won't go through all of it. But I talk about letting go as a spiritual practice, about how do we get ourselves out of the way so that life can happen and unfold as it's meant to. So then I go through how do we move through the thoughts and the beliefs that keep us stuck? How do we move through the emotions? How do we move through the habits of procrastination and worry, the ones that are non-supportive? How do we work with goals? We talked about a little bit. And relationships. So again, I think all of us are here to do the same work, which is to break the identification with everything that we're not. And everything that we're not includes the thoughts, the feelings, the sensations. So how do we move through all of that to allow more room for spirit, for life to come through us? So I wrote the book for anybody that's really looking for more freedom. I really want the book in the hands of therapists, coaches, and others that are doing transformational work because I think that's where it'll have the biggest impact.
Okay. So you actually when you were writing it, did you consciously write it for coaches and therapists and so forth? So again, that was just part of the download.
I don't do a lot of things consciously. You might have picked that up.
I keep pointing for them just in case there is one, but I haven't found one. Have you seen Leah Jody Lynn? I mean, I'm not spotting any.
Wait, I'm sorry. What did you say? I missed that.
I said that I've been looking for things that I can point to and pin you down on. This is the one thing, but I haven't found any yet. So you just naturally move through life. You just you are Jello to the world.
Except when I'm not. And my husband will tell you all about that.
But I think that there's this is all presenting a second or a parallel idea of consciousness. Because consciousness in the way that you were talking about it, Walt, like making a conscious decision, this is my goal, this is the step, and this is how I move towards it.
Yep.
But on another parallel line is consciousness itself, so the wisdom of the body, the wisdom of the universe,
all
God,
yes.
How we have access to all of that. And you're tapping into that consciousness. So it might not have been a conscious like brain decision, I'm going to do this, but you were in flow with consciousness, the consciousness of the universe.
Yes.
As you walk through life.
Yeah. And I absolutely feel like that this book was a joint venture, that I didn't write this by myself. It came through and
you channeled it through dance.
Yeah.
I don't consider myself a channeler, but I feel like this information was given to me and I wrote it down and I played with it, and
I feel much the same way, but I have to admit that is channeling. It
Mhm.
annoys me when I have to admit that, but it's true.
I guess that's what they call it. And it's funny because there have been times, I'll just tell you this, that I've heard, what sound like voices in my head telling me stuff. And then I was like, well, how do I know if this is my voice or your voice? And then I heard,
yeah.
And then I heard, it doesn't matter. There's only one.
Mm.
Your voice is our voice. Our voice is your voice. So who cares whose voice it is?
And ultimately, that's probably one of the strongest statements that you can make to help you understand just how connected you are to everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I know for myself, for a large part of my life, I really did not feel connected to much of anything. I wanted connection. It's not like I didn't want it. I craved the connection.
Yeah.
And to this day, I still love and crave connection. But for a large part of my life, I just felt like I was an observer outside watching all this craziness going on. It didn't feel like I was part of that flow at all. And the idea of getting into the flow seemed crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It really seemed irrational. Why would you do that? I think that's one of the reasons I'm so fascinated by you, because you were just in the flow from the beginning.
It's beautiful.
That's one of the reasons I enjoy it so much. This is really a fascinating topic. I'm sure we could just kind of go with it for the longest time. I know I could probably do it for hours. But one thing I am wanting to kind of tie it into is you've already described your practice. You described a bit about the book and how you are on your current, I don't know what else to call it, your current. You're always on, you're riding waves. You're never in one place. You're never stuck anywhere. You're never stopped anywhere. You're just going with that flow. And I'm wondering, where do you ever see where you're going with that flow? Do you even look where you're going? Do you, or is it just, well, this is just,
what fun would that be?
Today.
Jesus take the wheel. Literally.
Jesus take the wheel. Now, I have some ideas. So this is what releasing does for me. It's like I have ideas, but I don't hold on to them tightly.
Mm.
So what I'm hoping, I think over the next couple of years, I'd really like to do more training, teach therapists and coaches how to bring more of the somatic awareness into what they're doing. I've done a couple of coaching sessions recently with speakers in how to bring the body more into their speaking, which is really a lot of fun. There's so many ways to do that. Mm. So I am holding that as an intention, but I hold that with, I wonder if that's what's going to happen. I wonder if this is what the universe has in mind. Mm. Another thought that's been starting to show up, I've been studying Course in Miracles since I was 25, so some time now. And, the Course in Miracles says, I am not a body, I am free, which I totally agree with. I'm not the body, but the body is here to provide wisdom, to provide communication. But so many people that are studying the Course in Miracles deny the body. Mm-hmm. So I think the next book is The Body and the Course in Miracles, which is going to have a little bit of a kickback, I think. But to me, it sounds like fun. So I do have some ideas about what's next, and we'll see if the universe lines up with that, or if I line up, It feels like that's where it's coming from, so we'll see.
Well, that's a key portion of, you mentioned law of attraction before. Like a key idea of law of attraction is setting intentions. And this sounds like this is how you go about setting your intentions. It sounds like you're not married to any of them. It's not like this intention has to come true. It's more like, I just set intentions because I do have some ideas, but if they don't play out that way, I'm okay with that.
Right. Lester Levinson originated the Sedona method, which is one of the techniques I use a lot. And he said that even the most impossible becomes completely possible when you're fully released on it. And you know that you're fully released when you don't give a hoot.
This is true.
So the term hootlessness came up.
Hootlessness.
Yes, the less attached we are to anything, the more probable the result that we're hoping for will happen. But it's our attachment resistance that holds everything away.
Mm-hmm. But so for a lot of things, I was going to say that can be easy. And I recognize that there's some people that don't believe that might be listening, and that's okay too. For me, I think letting go of things, resistance, having hootlessness for a lot of things in my life, really easy. But there are some very specific things that, and I'll just be really transparent and honest, because I love your feedback, because I'm not the only one in the world, but we've been trying to have a family for a long time now.
Yeah.
And it's been a long road and very difficult and a lot of different things. And I know that there's a reason for the journey. I know that there's a big message in this for me and my family and whatever comes next. But I've been working with that idea over the entire time, the entire 7 years that we've been trying, of letting go and slowly shifting that resistance, or like holding on to that need. But I know that it's still there. So what would be your recommendation for someone like me that wants something so bad but knows they need to let it go and be hootlessness? Have hootless?
Yeah.
Is that what?
I might get to hootlessness. And I'll tell you, I had we were trying to sell a house some years ago, and it wasn't selling. And I just kept releasing. I kept letting go, and I kept letting go. And I never got to hootlessness, but I got closer. I got more relaxed about it. And so if I was working with you, I would just keep, so what's the drive? Why is it so important? And often, it's like, I feel like, there are things besides, like, I just want to give love to another being. Sometimes, well, if I don't have a child, am I a good enough person? Am I, what does it say about me? What are my parents going to think? So the more we can clean up all of the external pieces and soften into, yes, this is what I want, and it may or may not happen, the more relaxed you can get about it. Without necessarily getting completely hopeless. Because we're human and we want things.
Yeah. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I think it's the desperation.
Yes, that's what holds it back.
Yeah. So I've worked a lot with that concept and that idea, letting go at different stages. But I like that. Easy.
And I'm sure you've heard about, I think we all know stories of women that, tried for so long to get pregnant, to conceive, and then they adopted and then they conceived. And it's like, what happened? Well, they let go.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have a new technical term, hootless.
Hootlessness.
Yeah. I
Let's
don't give
get
a hoot.
hootless.
I like that.
Or give a hootless, depending on how you want to look at it. This is fascinating. This is a really fascinating conversation. I kind of wish we could keep going, but we're closing in on the hour mark, and that's usually the indication we got to start tying it together. But you say the book is coming out in January. It's called Shake Yourself Free, and
it's actually already available for pre-order.
Oh, it is. Okay, all right. Is it available everywhere?
It's available on Amazon for now.
On Amazon, okay.
And well, it's also on Ingram, which means you can go into Barnes & Noble and order it.
Okay.
And it will be available on my website. So my website is Smithson Clinic. There's a specific page set up, smithsonclinic.com/podcast, where you can access a free chapter, the chapter on beliefs and thinking, and the very long table of contents. I am going to be doing some free webinars in the very near future on the topic. And I think the first one, it could actually be next Saturday, on moving through anxiety, fear, and worry.
Okay.
So
if someone is listening in, the first couple of weeks after this is released, and they're interested in that workshop, how do they find out about it?
smithsonclinic.com.
Just go right to the website. Okay.
Yeah. And hopefully it'll be up today.
Now that you put it out there, it's got to go up, right?
Right, because that was one of those things. I woke up this morning and said, I think I should do a workshop next Saturday. So that's where the planning has to come in. Okay, if you're going to do a workshop next Saturday, you got to get it up on the website.
It's just fascinating to watch your mindset
Yeah.
and how you shift it throughout your day. I mean, that's what you're describing to us here. It's very different from the way that I grew up, and very different from where I was most of my life. It matches more with where I've tried to get to.
Yes.
So it's very reaffirming to know that that's what you're doing. But
And I think
how does she do it so naturally? This is crazy.
I think age helps with it. You kind of get to a point in life where you're just like, yeah, I'm done worrying about that.
This is true. Yeah. After a while, you kind of wear yourself out on stuff. You say, okay, I'm done.
I don't have enough energy to deal with that anymore.
You become hootless. I love it. Jody Lynn, I don't think you're going to have any trouble tying things. That's the second thing we always do every day when we do these shows. Is that I go to Jody Lynn as my co-host to kind of tie everything together. And Melanie, I can tell you, Jody Lynn's not going to have any trouble.
With this one?
It's going to be easy.
I feel like it's so big. There's a lot that I wrote down. I am an avid note taker. When I am inspired, it just pours through me. And I have so many notes from our conversation today, Melanie. I think what you're doing is so incredibly important. We live in a world where we're told that we got to have a plan. You got to work the plan. You got to work really hard. This is how it should look, should feel. And I think you're right. We've forgotten about the body. We treat it like a meat suit. Stolen car, my husband says all the time. He treats his body like a stolen car. We don't have that respect and admiration for our body, and we've forgotten how much wisdom, support, and how instrumental the body is in creating and co-creating all of our dreams. So thank you for the reminder of dropping into our body and learning about it, having the experience, feeling with it, and really truly dancing with it through our lives. Thank you, Melanie.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Yeah, I love that. And I second it entirely. And in fact, it leads in perfectly to the final thing I always like to do at the end of these shows, because now that we live in the 21st century, where you can be in Santa Fe and I can be near Hartford, Connecticut, and Jody Lynn can be in Alberta, Canada, and we've had guests from Australia and have a co-host in the UK. And I mean, we're all over the world. I mean, that's just the nature of it. And we can just be like in each other's living room at the same time. 30 years ago, even, that was impossible. Now it's every day. It's normal.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, we now live in a time where people can much more easily share the stuff they've learned, share the stuff they've been able to develop and that they want to share with the world. You were talking earlier about how important it is to share, how important it is to serve. Jody Lynn serves in a huge way, not only with her abundance consciousness, but also with the other things that she does to help people to shift their mindsets, particularly where money is concerned, but also where other things are concerned. Almost every guest that comes onto the program has achieved something like that. And so we do podcasts, we write books, we post stuff on social media. We're doing all this stuff.
We do Zoom groups.
Yeah. and we're helping people that we don't even know about, and sometimes we get an email or we get a phone call or something, and that's always great. But a lot of the time we're helping people we don't even know about. And that's the part that I noticed. I said, we don't get credit for that. How come? We should get credit for that. So this is my favorite thing. Melanie, on behalf of those people that you've never met, never seen, never will see, on their behalf, thank you for what you're doing, because you're making a difference in this world.
Yeah. Thank you.
And thank you for spending this time with us. And I mean, this is one of the most fascinating interviews I've ever done, because I have never met anybody like you. Like, oh my God, I got to learn from this woman.
Well, I appreciate it. I obviously I love my work, and I would really like to see the whole world having more fun with life. And that's, kind of what it comes down to. I actually have a t-shirt that says, "Let go, feel good." Mm-hmm. And, it's like, that's what I want. I want more joy. I want more fun if I'm going to be here,
Well, I can tell you, I'm in favor now. I am now going to get a t-shirt that says, "Be hootless."
I love it.
So on the t-shirt, one of my favorite t-shirts is from one of the teachers in Soul Motion, Zuza Engler. And it's dance ugly and drool.
Why not? Why not?
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing all this with us, and best of luck with everything that you're doing. Thank you to our podcast listeners everywhere. We will see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.